Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to game number 3 of this best out of 3, our third match for day 1 of the International 2 East Qualifiers. It's been a long cast, but some really fantastic games today. The last two in particular have been the best, and I say the last two. Well, actually, I mean the second game of this series, the second game of the last one. And we're getting our first best out of 3 that's going 3 games here. MSI, Evo, and AEON tied up 1-1. AEON took a very convincing game 1 win. Evo struck back in game number 2. And actually, I cannot even remember what heroes they picked because it's been a little bit while. Hopefully you can refresh the viewer's memory, but we do see an Enchantress and Darkseer as the first two bans. Of course, first pick is going the way of MSI.
Yeah, it has been a good 2 hours or so since the finish of that game. They did have the Weaver as their main carrier. That was the main thing that stood out. As for what else they had, well, your guess is as good as mine. I believe there was a Windrunner somewhere in there. They had a Windrunner versus the tri-lane top. They had a Weaver tri-lane at bottom.
I want to say there was a Night Stalker as well.
Yep. Yeah.
It was a pretty aggressive. Yeah, those were the 3 key heroes. 3 very mobile, aggressive heroes. And you guys have you're probably tired of hearing the word mobile come out of my mouth. But frankly, that is really what's making the difference for these teams. Is just their ability to get around the map quickly. And who is more mobile than the Prophet? Pretty much nobody. So he gets the ban. Lycan gets the ban. Junglers are the name of the game here, as well as a little bit of teamfight and a lot of push. So smart, standard bans from both teams. MSI, I believe their last ban in the previous game was a Chen. I want to say, I think they've been banning the Chen, Enchantress, and Lycan. I know they ran the Chen in the first game, but I think in game 2 that was the way their ban shook out. Either way, they have first pick here, and the question is, what do they go with this time around? We've seen Leshrac be reasonably popular. Windrunner probably the most popular here in the series. Of course, Queen of Pain has been very successful. A little bit more favored by AEON, but MSI certainly, I would not be surprised to see them running that here. Frankly, I think it fits in well with what both teams want to do. So if it's not banned or picked in the first 3, I will be very shocked.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Leshrac, I think last game was not banned or picked in the first ban in pick stage. I think got banned by the 4th or 5th ban by one of the teams. Sand King actually going to get banned out by MSI. That's a hero AEON used quite well in game number 1. I actually don't mind this ban, especially because MSI have the first pick. So it's whatever is left, they get first dibs at. So this Sand King ban is not all that bad, I've got to say. And they're going to go with the Chen again. So Windrunner still in the pool. The Chen did not work out too well for them in game 1. We'll see how it goes in this game number 3 here. As we'll see if it is Cast going to be playing that Chen again, the former Dustbin player. And what I am going to get here, probably the likes Windrunner and Queen of Pain. That's what they did in game 1. And both those 2 heroes are still in this pool.
Yeah, that's what they did in game 1. And that's what MSI actually replied with in game number 2. Or I think that's accurate. I know they had the Windrunner. Did they have the Queen of Pain? Maybe I'm thinking of another series. That combo has been very popular. Yeah, I think it wasn't the previous game. But just that combo in general, Windrunner, Queen of Pain, so mobile, 2 really strong laning heroes, and it is the Queen of Pain to start. Will the Windrunner follow? If it's not Windrunner, I still expect to see some sort of hero that has a lot of burst potential, a lot of early game power, and laning presence. So if it's not the Windrunner, maybe we'd see something. I mean, the Weaver, hey, it worked out pretty well. It's a decent hero to have in the lane. It's going to be the Night Stalker here, so interesting deviation. That leaves Windrunner available. And if I'm on MSI, I snap that up. Such an effective hero to have, especially against the Night Stalker. Shackleshot can really counter those dives, but another hero that deals with those dives well. Oh, I love this 1-2-3 punch here from MSI. So much defensive power. And against the Night Stalker and a Queen of Pain, you need defensive power. That fissure going to be very nice, along with the Shackleshot and the Windrun. Of course, Chen with his heal. So many ways to punish dives, protect heroes who are getting dove, keep them alive. And if you can keep them alive long enough, you should be able to turn the fight around. Of course, AEON still has a lot of ganking potential, and if they ever catch out that Chen, or really any of these heroes alone, they can easily bring them down. The question is, where does AEON go from here? Of course, Sandk was banned out, and I would not be surprised if he was available if they picked him up here. With him banned, maybe we'd see something like a Tidehunter, maybe something like a Leshrac or a Shadow Demon. All of these heroes have been made appearances in this series. It's actually Avenge. What do you think of that?
Very, very aggressive sort of ganking lineup. I mean, that is... I mean, it has the focus fire with potential with that point stun, but ultimately, it doesn't really. It's basically AEON not going to reveal too much more about what they're going to do. They've already have the Queen of Pain and Night Stalker being picked up. This is aggressive ganking, but ultimately against the Chen heals, against the ES Windrunner combo, there's not going to be too much diving going on. It's going to come down to maybe more structured ganks and less sort of hyper aggression that sometimes teams like to do with heroes like Night Stalker. I'm okay with this early Night Stalker pick because it's a hero that MSI have used well in game 2. I think they used it in game 1 as well, even though they ultimately lost that game. They did have Night Stalker in both those 2 games. So I think AEON deciding that they want to use the Night Stalker, and they're tired of MSI picking it up. So that's partly why they want to get that nice and early on in this draft.
One hero whose name we've been bouncing around back and forth, and we haven't actually, I don't think we've seen a game with them yet today, is Shadow Shaman. And I actually think Shadow Shaman would be a devastating pick to have here. It would give them so much initiation, and more importantly, another very strong solo hero can definitely dominate that middle lane. Whether it's a Queen of Pain or a Night Stalker, at least break even against Queen of Pain. A Night Stalker stands no chance in the laning phase against the Shadow Shaman. It also gives you that incredible pushing power as the mid game hits, and very importantly, if you get some decent farm up, you can rush a quick blink, and that is one of the best ways to shut down Queen of Pain, as well as Night Stalker. A Ward Trap will definitely be a way to go. But I think most importantly, when you're up against heavy aggressive gankers, you want to get those early towers, really limit their sphere of influence, and force them to be out in no man's land if they want to go for ganks. So I think Shadow Shaman fits the bill. I'm sure there are other heroes that would as well, but to me that's a fantastic way to go. And I wouldn't be too surprised to see Evo do that. For now it is an Enigma and the DK getting the ban. Interesting to see AEON ban out the DK. I kind of felt they might pick that up themselves.
They're known for using DK all the time. I mean, when they were beating some of those top teams like DK, as well as Absolute Legends on a couple of occasions, they used DK in almost all of those games. So it is something I would have more likely seen them pick up than ban out. But they are going to ban out the Anti-Mage as well. MSI maybe going to go with the Weaver again. The problem is that Night Stalker and Queen of Pain, I mean, they've got some decent heroes to deal with a hero like Weaver. Weaver would have to tank up, make sure to get a Vitality booster, probably a Vanguard, or even the Vitality booster with a Hood. Against those heroes. So maybe not the best game for a Weaver, although it did work well for them in game 2. But, I mean, up against these dire heroes, it's something that will just get focused down very quickly, I think. But with the ES and Winner backup, I mean, you could still justify a Weaver pick here, I think.
If you run a Weaver, he's got to win the laning phase, and he's got to do so in a dominating fashion. Now, if he's in a tri-lane, Weaver is a fantastic carry to have, because he doesn't need too many levels to do a lot of work. They're actually going to go with Broodmother. We've seen mixed results from this hero. I'm not sure how I feel about the pick. It gives them a lot of push, but Broodmother is going to be a bit isolated. And if you look at MSI's lineup, they're not the most mobile, while they're very strong defensively. And if Broodmother has a bad start, if she's getting ganked out, sure, Chen can pop the heal. But if Earthshaker and Windrunner aren't already on her side of the map, they're probably not going to be able to save that Brood. So I think it's really going to come down to what can MSI do to take pressure off the Brood, and what can Brood do to free up some space for those other heroes. So it's sort of a symbiotic relationship, if you will. And if it goes well, it'll be fantastic for Evo. But if it doesn't, Broodmother definitely a hero who can be picked off easily by Night Stalker, Venge, Queen of Pain. A lot of chasing power there.
Yeah, I mean, this is almost similar to what we saw it was Tongfu do when they were up against the Brood in their game against Ice. They just had such great draft for actually picking off heroes left, right, and center. They had the mobility all around the map, the global presence. I mean, they had a Queen of Pain as well as a Night Stalker. They had the Prophet, which is not still in this pool. Of course, it would have been picked up much earlier on. But it's a similar kind of thing coming out from AEON. I mean, they could go for that Bounty Hunter, which we've seen Tongfu use very well. I think Bounty Hunter fits in here. You can run it as that side lane solo with Queen of Pain and Night Stalker going to the mid and top lane. Queen of Pain maybe in the safe lane with Night Stalker at mid, depending on how they want to do it. They're going to get a Tide for now, which could be their second support. And I don't mind this. It could also go head-to-head with the Broodmother if they want to have that in a 1v1 matchup.
Yeah, I actually really like this pick. Not only would it go really well in the laning phase, I believe it was AEON who had a Tide Hunter in the first game. Or maybe I think it was the second game, actually. And although they ended up dropping that, the Tide got really fast Arcane Boots. The Ravage early on, he didn't even have to use it. He was just getting so many kills with that Gush, the Anchor Smash. And you mentioned the power of Tide versus Broodmother. I might be getting the two games mixed up, but I know we've seen him in the series. He was very effective for AEON. And not only is he great in terms of countering that Brood, he's also a fantastic ganker. Fits well with their lineup, gives them some team fight, and a very undervalued aspect of Tide is the minus armor his Gush provides. You couple that with the Wave of Terror from Venge. This Night Stalker and the Queen of Pain will be hitting very hard, despite not having many damage items, or at least they don't need to. It's a lot of burst damage, it's a lot of ability to lock down heroes quickly, take them out, and it's going to be a Weaver. I gotta say, this is a bold choice. There's so much chase, so much initiation on AEON. If the Weaver gets caught out, he will die, so of course it's up to MSI to have that good start, but Weaver did work for them last time around. I think I underestimated it a little bit, and hopefully MSI, for the sake of their fans, will at least put up a good fight here. Still, you gotta be concerned about that Weaver in terms of staying alive, especially if he doesn't have a good start.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where he needs to have a good start and needs to get those fast tanking items. We saw him go for the fast Lincolns into a Radiance last game. This game, maybe even go for something a bit cheaper because that Perseverance doesn't give you any survivability, really. It just gives you the ability to stay in that lane longer when you do take some harass, as well as get forced to use some mana up. But in terms of actual survivability from burst damage and chain disables, you need pure HP, vitality boosters, hoods. Maybe going to have to be the go-to items this game for the Weaver. But at the same time, they'll put the Weaver in the safe lane. They'll try and give it some farm. Looks like we will be seeing ES and Weaver with the Chen at bottom, with Brood at top, and Winner as a solo mid here. Up to AEON now. What do they want to do? They want to try and send an aggressive tri-lane bottom, maybe. They can put Tide up against the Brood, but they are going to go for a Shadow Shaman hero who can be a solo, but alternatively may just be a support. They could run the Shadow Shaman and VS as the two supports and try to do Tide Hunter up in a solo role, or even as a farmer up against something like that Brood.
Well, I mentioned I thought Shadow Shaman would fit in great with MSI's lineup, but I actually really like this choice with AEON. It gives them yet another way to help lock down the Weaver and the Brood, and these are two very elusive heroes. So MSI, if you look at their lineup, it is pretty mobile. It's very elusive. The Windrunner, as well as the Spider and the Weaver. But if there's ever been a lineup that can lock these kind of heroes down, it is certainly AEON's. A lot of chasing power on their side. And although these heroes are pretty elusive, they are relatively squishy, and AEON has a lot of burst damage.
Prepare for battle.
So while we have a second
really
here, let's go ahead and introduce the players real quick. So we have Cast on that Earthshaker, played a fantastic support Chen. He's actually not going to be playing the Chen this game. Instead, it's going to be Chemo on that Chen. A Doa on that Weaver. He was so impressive to watch in game number 2. I think he ended up like 10-0-10 or something along those lines. Really a top-notch score. Vash on that Windrunner will be headed mid. And of course, Broodmother up top. What will she be facing? For now, it looks like a solo Quap. This is definitely a lane Brood can win, can at least break even in. Quap should get some farm, but Brood is not going to have a horrible start, at least if this is the way the lanes break down.
Yep, and speaking of the co-op, that is over on the Dire side, which is the Singaporean AEON. That's King playing the Queen of Pain. Mid lane, you've got Ken playing the solo mid Night Stalker. Bottom lane, Vengeful Spirit of Nuts. Tidehunter being played by Suwamon and Shadow Shaman. Mr. Keo, it's Tidehunter being played in a farming role, and he's got some crazy skins going on. He's got spikes coming off of his back here. Looks like he's been in the Dota 2 store or just ran into some cool items. Ken at mid lane is going for a fast bottle. No tangos, no clarities, just 3 branches, getting out bottle as quickly as possible. Not going to be the easiest thing to do against Windrunner. Maybe forced to use a couple of those voids just to get a couple creep last hits.
Yeah, the other thing about the Night Stalker being mid is Night Stalker is a solo mid that is very dependent on controlling the runes in order to gank effectively, especially as that first nighttime approaches. But against a Windrunner, when you don't have any push, it's pretty difficult to control the runes. If you want to go for them, it means you abandon your lane, you miss out on some experience, and for Night Stalker, those early levels are so important in order to get going. So we'll have to see how the lane progresses, but for now, I give the edge to Windrunner in the lane. Still, Night Stalker is unlikely to die here without a gank. He should get the levels. It's just that he may not get as much as he would like, and the runes are not going to be too easy to come by, at least if Vash plays it properly.
Yeah, and we'll see what Chen wants to do. Chen has not gone for any smokes early on, so we might not see even too many ganks coming out of this Chen, except maybe some pressure and some ganks on bottom lane. Could go for a smoke and look for an early kill on Night Stalker, which would be probably what I think would be the optimal way to do this. But without a smoke, it's going to be very difficult. So quite likely we'll just go towards the bottom lane. He's picked up a safety, and at level 1, that's 6 potential shockwaves that he can throw at that bottom lane. And that's a lot of damage on those squishy support heroes like Shadow Shaman and Vengeful Spirit. So I'd like to see him just go start harassing them, especially since without a smoke, he's not really going to be ganking for any kills.
Yeah, and this is a support Shadow Shaman, something we don't see a whole lot of in the European scene. I know Absolute Legends has been, they favored running that support Shadow Shaman quite frequently. Fissure, oh, that's a great block. Will Venge get out? Indeed she will. Just tango her way out from the looks of it. That was real close. But yeah, I believe Absolute Legends likes to run that support Shadow Shaman, but this is a hero that really needs level 6. I mean, he does have nice disables, but you want to max out that Ether Shock as quickly as possible. His spells are very expensive, so unless he gets quick Arcane Boots or a bottle to start, he's going to have a hard time spamming those spells. You also want to get those wards up, and that's really the crucial part in order to push down towers, set up ganks, but primarily your goal is to use them to push down towers. So unless they're getting kills early, I gotta say I'm happy for MSI in terms of the way the lanes are breaking down. I think they can win all 3 of these lanes. Maybe they won't dominate bottom, but they have a Chen farming up in the jungle, they have an Earthshaker pulling. If they start giving up kills, that's going to be where the advantage shifts to AEON. And of course that first nighttime, once the Quap hits level 6 or 7, that's going to be crucial, but so far I think these are all winnable lanes for MSI with the possible exception of bottom, where at the very least Weaver should be able to survive. barring some sort of misposition or bad play by him.
Yeah, no, I agree that all three lanes, I mean, there's not really any problems with MSI in terms of lanes. I mean, for AEON, it's the opposite in some ways. I mean, mid lane, Night Stalker will struggle, but he has got that early bottle up now. He's using that to regen, but he's going to be relying a lot on getting runes. The first rune, it looks like it actually spawns top. Actually, no, sorry, was it bottom? Picked up the DD rune. So AEON going for an early gank here. They've smoked up. They're coming, going to try hunt down this Windrunner, and with the VS as well as Shadow Shaman, I think they should be able to get this kill. Even with the Windrunner. No, Windrunner actually backing off. It looks like they walked past the Sentry Ward and maybe got spotted there. Chen actually runs right into them. Chen gets away as well. He's not going to be stunned here. Power Shot does a lot of damage to Shadow Shaman. That is not quite what AEON wanted to do with that gank. DD Rune on Nuts doing a lot of right-click damage. He's going to get the first blood on Chen. Chen should not have traded hits. No, the Fissure comes in. Chen is still alive. One more right-click. He's going to run up here. He's going to at least get the kill on Nuts. Can he?
Oh!
He will get the kill. He gets the kill and
God! What a play by Chemo. That was a massive bait. Great rotation by the Earthshaker. I was about to say, is he lagging? Because it looked like he was going to feed away a first blood. But what a play, using that Fog of War to his advantage, as well as the creep, giving him the vision. That was something to behold. Not often you'll see a Chen in that situation turn around. He's a pretty easy hero to track down, not particularly mobile, and the microing can be very challenging, but really impressive, I have to say confident play by the Chen. It was a risk and it paid off big time. That's going to leave the Shadow Shaman and the Venge at level 1. That smoke has also been wasted. Completely failed start. And when you run dual roam, especially in an offensive tri-lane, if you don't have a good start, everyone's under-leveled. Tidehunter is getting the levels. It will be a quick Ravage for him the way things are going. But these two supports still sitting at level 1. Oh, sorry, Shadow Shaman did hit level 2, but Venge still level 1. Very under-leveled on both of them.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that having them under-leveled is not the way to go. That ES Fissure just coming in at the perfect time to counter gank there. But yeah, Weaver gained some decent farms, 16 creep kills. Tide, what am I doing? Tiny is up to 20 though, so he's doing pretty well at this bottom lane. And top lane, something that is quite important for both teams. This is one of those matchups which could go either way. Queen of Pain convincingly winning the last hits as bottom lane. They find Weaver with this help of the Sentry Ward.
Yeah, there is a lot of lockdown here, and unfortunately Weaver decided to get aggressive there. Really needs to hold on to that Sakuchi as a defensive spell, not use it to harass. I'm sure he's going to be more careful after that death. Still, the Weaver not already having a worse start than he did last game, where he never died. 17 TS, you mentioned that, it is decent. It's nothing exceptional, but considering the lane, I mean, the real star of this game so far is King, who's up to 33 CS. Now, some of those are Spiders. Oh my god, he is so low. He's going to be able to blink away just with about 10 to 15 HP. Weaver wave coming out in the bottom lane. It's a great fissure from Cast. Will it be enough? Down goes the Venge, and you cannot try to run away against a Weaver tri-lane. Earthshaker Weaver, such a powerful combination because of that ability to start with the fissure, follow up with the bugs, and then slowly just work down your opponents, chasing them down as they try to retreat. Great job recovering there by MSI, and I have to say, despite that Weaver's death, he's getting the levels, he's getting a decent amount of gold. It's a very small gold lead for now, but if you look at MSI's lineup, they have a lot of heroes that can dominate the mid-game, just in terms of raw pushing power and elusiveness, if they get the decent start, and so far they are getting it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not all good news. I mean, some of these heroes like Queen of Pain and Tide are farming very, very well. And this first nighttime is where AEON are really going to be tested. If this Night Stalker can get involved and start bringing some kills and momentum to AEON's favor, maybe even lead into some tower kills, then AEON will be in a much better position. But if this first night doesn't really lead to too many openings for AEON, I mean, ultimately it's MSI who do have a very powerful mid game, especially with Chen offering his team so much survivability and that defensive duo, the Windrunner and ES that we've talked about. So it has been just so common and so popular throughout this tournament.
Gods, you're breaking up a little bit, so let me call you right back, as we do see a potential initiation on the bottom lane. Gush thrown out by the Tidehunter. Looks like that's not going to amount to anything much, so Weaver is okay for now. The Earthshaker not getting much in way of farm. That is another bit concern for MSI. Chen has opted for a fast earn here. Kind of unusual. You normally see either the Mechanism or the Arcane Boots being rushed, or even a Bracer just to tank up a little bit. Earn will give you some survivability. And hey, MSI has a lot of killing power in the early stages. If they can get some kills, that'll be great. Night Stalker rotating in bottom. This could be a double kill here if they're not extremely careful. Ravage is not up yet. That may be what AEON is waiting for. For the moment, the Wave of Terror will be scouting MSI out. I almost feel like they have to abandon the tower, but they can't now because Night Stalker is coming in from behind, looking to dive. I doubt they'll be able to catch the Weaver, but the ES may not be so lucky. Actually, I think Ken will. Oh, at the last second he backs off, not able to guess the Weaver's path correctly. And not finding the ES either. That is a bit surprising. But nice job by the ES, just staying patient, not getting scared and trying to run away, which is something you see a lot of players do. They'll just sort of panic when they see that Night Stalker charging in.
Well, absolutely. I mean, if he got found there, he was dead, but he just stood his ground and said, okay, well, if they find me, I'll have to do what I can, do as much damage as I can before I die, but let's just hope he doesn't find me. And turns out he tried to chase down the Weaver, and yeah, he got out perfectly okay, and now AEON wasting more time. I mean, Night Stalker roaming bottom, not getting killed, now heads back mid, but ultimately that was...
bottom lane, Shadow Shaman just melting here to the creeps. Great micro by this Chen player. So apparently MSI has two very strong Chen players to work with as they get a kill there, and this is nighttime. AEON should be the ones getting the kills. The Ravage is still not up. Tidehunter, because he's in that offensive tri-lane, is just not getting the levels. Normally a farming Tide would have level 6 by now.
Yeah, and Queen of Pain is now, I mean, it has been forced to go for this bottle as well as Arcane Boots. This is, well, the lane went well early on for King. He's got 67 creep kills. Those do include probably a lot of Spiderlings, so it probably has been somewhat exaggerated. He does struggle to stay in lane at this point, because Brew can just spam the spawn Spiderlings on King himself.
Ravage on the bottom lane.
There we go. That's the Ravage you're talking about. It's finally up now, and with the help of Night Stalker, 2 easy kills. Ooh.
Well, they made that Ravage pay off in a big way. Ken gonna run into Vash with the DD. Will he be able to turn this into a kill? I don't think so. Ken simply too fast. Despite having no items, he's actually, with that kill, with those 2 kills, he's really not that far behind the Windrunner. He's done a decent job in terms of farming. He's 11 CS back. But if you look at the Windrunner, no participation in any kills yet. And this is not a Windrunner who can afford to sit back and farm all game, simply because the team fight, the push power, the mid-game potential of AEON is very strong. And they're going to need Shackle Shot, as well as that Power Shot for the damage, for the disable and initiation, in order to be effective here in the mid-game, especially since that ES still only level 3. The Chen not level 6 yet, although he's getting close. No creep army to speak of at the moment, and Chen is going to be forced to rebuild that. We haven't looked at all at Brood, and generally she becomes the forgotten hero, both for players as well as casters, until they realize until the players realize they've lost 2 towers in the 2 minutes they left the lane alone. Brood hitting level 8 here, 600 gold in the bank, opted for quick power treads. Honestly, not the best farm on a Brood, 47 CS. She could be farming the jungle. It's definitely not bad by any means. Kane has done a decent...
Night Stalker though. Night Stalker is here with Dust in this top lane, and if Brood gets found, probably will go down at the same time, can use those webs to try escape in.
I'm not sure he sees her. I think he's waiting for her to show up in lane. Actually, I guess he does know. He's painting the camp, thinking about going. Gonna wait for the Brood to make her getaway. And actually, that's gonna allow her to escape. So, too patient in that case was the Night Stalker. And it has turned into a very passive game. Actually, as I say that, Dust is popped, but it was a maximum range Dust. Brood should be able to escape. And that is a big wasted opportunity. It's not only the Dust cost, it's more importantly the nighttime that's being wasted. That is a very valuable resource. As Night Stalker on the bottom lane, Tidehunter, no Ravage, but the Fissure on their own side. I think that last auto attack might just be enough. It is. The bugs pick him up. In comes Nuts, going for the Chen. Chen has the ult. This might be turned around. In fact, I think it's Venge who's got to be careful here, but in comes the Night Stalker. Weaver waiting in the wings. No Chen ultimate. I'm not sure why he's not using it. He could have easily turned that fight around. 1 kill onto the Venge. Ken giving on the retreat now himself. Fissure not up on the Earthshaker. No bomb. Should probably be popping this clarity at the moment. Power shot is going to hit. Ken's going to go down as well, and that will be more nighttime that's being wasted while this is happening. Somehow Shadow Shaman has found his way to level 6. He will be dropping the wards mid. They may get a tower, and that is something they desperately need. Along the top lane, Broodmother and Queen of Pain continue to live in their own little fantasy land, just padding their creep stats, not interested in participating. Holy Mother of God, look at that Queen of Pain's farm. And yes, we both know it's padded by the spider lanes, but still, that is a lot. 100 creeps at 11 minutes.
It's impressive, that's for sure. And right now, I mean, you mentioned time and time again, it's this Night Stalker wasting nighttime. He TP'd top, stood there for about a good minute and a half. He stood there long enough so that his TP was no longer on cooldown, and then he TP'd bottom after wasting a Dust. And even going bottom, he didn't he got helped get the 1 kill on the Chen, but ultimately died. So he really has been completely ineffective. The Shadow Shaman was the saving grace on that tier 1 tower at mid, but now Shadow Shaman and VS actually smoke up. They actually used 2 smokes there. They both used their smoke, so that was a bit of a mistake from those 2 players there.
Broodmother actually tanking here. Oh, I thought she might turn that one around.
And bottom lane, the smoke is going. They want this Weaver, and they're going to have to make sure they get the disable off right off the bat. Central Ward is popped with a BS stun. Shackle will make sure they get the kill. Fairly straightforward kill for those three heroes. 2 kills going AEON's way, 1 at top, 1 at bottom. That's kind of what they needed, especially after hitting that T1 tower, although they're going to find their T1 mid tower under siege here, and Winrunner is there to back up the Chen. If they can get this T1 tower, it's an okay trade for MSI, although they are going to be finding their side lanes under pressure as well at the same time.
Well, that was actually a lot closer than it looked. I believe Weaver was mid-cast animation on the time-lapse, which would disjoint that magic missile, as well as remove the dust. If he'd gotten that off, it would have at least forced the Ravage. He might have even lived. Of course he did not, and so unfortunately, the bottom tower is going to go down. Shadow Shaman wards being used again. This is how Shadow Shaman should be played. Every time the wards are up, drop them and collect the tower. They've already done it twice. Expect to see that top tier 1 being pressured next as soon as the wards are up again. Also, if MSI ever lose a fight, if anyone ever dies, AEON with the Shadow Shaman will have a lot of ability to bring down towers quickly. It's one of the dangers against playing against a hero like Shadow Shaman, similar to a Leshrac. But a little bit safer than a Leshrac because he doesn't have to stand next to the tower, just has to drop the wards and back off. Can continue to waste time in the nighttime, but it seems like his team has sort of carried him through this stage of the game. And a Night Stalker definitely going to be very powerful even later on, simply for that silence on the Weaver, who is going for a Lincoln Sphere. Not sure if you mentioned that yet, but it's going to be a much later one than we saw last time. In fact, I think the Lincolns was done at 13 minutes in, or very close to being done last game. Definitely a much slower pace at this point.
And if you get a slow Lincolns, I mean, sure, it will help out against heroes like the Shadow Shaman, like the Night Stalker, but if you get it too late, you're just not doing enough damage. And also, I mean, it only gives you limited survivability. They can still get a gem in sentries and just break the Lincolns and still try go on you. So I feel this Weaver, I mean, going for raw HP, going for a Vanguard may have been slightly preferred. As mid lane, they will get the T1 tower MSI. The Shackle shot into Nuts, actually. Nuts in a bit of trouble here. Test of Faith power shot. They get the kill, and here comes Tide from behind with a Ravage. He's going to try to get this Windrunner here. Anchor Smash goes with a Gust. There's the Chen heal, and a wasted Ravage, really. I mean, that was not going to ever accomplish anything. The backup was not close enough for Suamon.
Yeah, and it's daytime right now. The Shadow Shaman wards were down. They were also just not in position. And this is where you know, I love the very, far more into Queen of Pain. I really like seeing heroes used a little bit differently. But if Queen of Pain was there in that fight, that's at least a couple of kills. You combo that Ravage up, of course, with the Queen of Pain ultimate, as well as that Scream. That's so much burst damage. Definitely enough, probably to bring down the Chen, or excuse me, the Windrunner before the Chen ult is popped. But at the same time, Queen of Pain continuing to farm up at an alarming rate. 150 CS, you really got to question the way this Broodmother is playing. How are so many Spiderlings being fed? At this point, they should be heading towards the Ancients, just directly away from Queen of Pain. Don't even try to farm the enemy jungle because it doesn't seem to be working at all.
Yeah, and the Serpent Wards will be dropped to this top lane. They want this heal and tower Aeon. They're going to get them one by one. Just drop Serpent Wards from in. They dropped from the bottom. Now going to go for this top one. They've only lost one of their own towers, but this isn't something that MSI can really stop, and that's what you expect when you're up against a Shadow Shaman. Queen of Pain, though, blinks in with the Night Stalker. They want this ES. They'll get this ES. King getting the last hit for that, and that's what he needs to do more of. Get aggressive, start looking for some kills, not just continuously deal with this Brood at top and prevent Brood from pushing. Getting some kills and momentum for his team could help them a lot more going into this mid-game. As bottom line, we will see Chen run into this Tide. Chen has some backup coming in the form of the Weaver. Chen, though, going to be okay here and going to try to turn this around, go in this Tide. We will see Weaver taking a bit of damage, does get stunned, and it's actually Chen who may go down here. He pops a smoke by the looks of things. Not sure if that was a bit of a misclick, and Vengeful Spirit should go down. Shockwave with a Shikuchi, and Weaver going to get another kill.
Yeah, he is getting close to that Lincoln Sphere. But this is a game where I wonder just how great the Lincoln Sphere will be. Well, Shackle Shot onto Tide. Nice micro. Chen can actually participate even after he's dead. And so Chen players really never get a chance to rest as long as their creeps are up. Ken is going to... the unappreciated players of the Dota world. Ken eats a Shackle Shot. Power Shot also hitting the Shadow Shaman there. What great play. In comes Cast, and it looks like AEON is getting caught out of position. Really over-aggressive. Such a back-and-forth game. And another kill might just go to the Weaver. Another great Power Shot. Oh, Vash is feeling it right now. And a Shackle Shot. Oh my god, Vash, you are unstoppable, man.
What are AEON doing? TP in one by one. Now Queen of Pain comes in. That fish is actually going to land, although no kills to follow it up. This is just TP in one by one. This is not what you'd expect from a team of AEON's caliber. Right now, they are looking tired. They are looking very sloppy, and definitely not up to their normal standard of play, it seems.
And they really can't afford to get sloppy, especially with the Night Stalker having a bad start. They're up against a Weaver and a Broodmother. If this game goes late enough, those two will simply be too tanky to bring down. And you also have to keep in mind that Chen, the Earthshaker, the Windrunner, so great to support them, keep them alive, punish the opponent's over-aggression. And we saw it right there, just the aggressive diving. Sure, there's not a tower here, but it's just too deep in enemy territory, too far behind enemy lines, no support in range. And with those kills, it frees up Broodmother to finally get a push going here. As I say, that Shadow Shaman comes, but by himself, he will just not have enough AoE to bring these creeps down. And the Spiderling's going to start going to work on the tower. Look how many heroes have to go top. This is why Broodmother sees a lot of picks, even in this seed where she, the aggressive gankers can be used to shut her down. Sure, Broodmother did not have a great start, but simply by being in the game, sitting in that lane, draws the attention away. As long as MSI continue to take these fights 4v5, they're looking like they're having a great sort of springboard and segue into the mid game here. They have to keep it up though. They can't afford to get sloppy, because if you get sloppy against the Tidehunter and all of the other disables and burst damage of AEON, you will pay and pay in spades.
Oh yeah, I mean, Queen of Pain and Night Stalker, two of the best heroes for punishing mistakes. I mean, they will just absolutely pounce on anything. And we will see Brood going for that Orchid. I mean, that is going to be... I mean, she's going to be squishy, so that's going to be the main problem. They will ultimately need a BKB this game. But right now, with the backup from the ESM Windrunner, so far Windrunner has been the key hero for MSI. And you can see why going in that mid lane, and it's paid off. It's been some perfectly placed power shots and shackle shots, and really, it's going to give MSI the momentum they need. All they really want right now is to maybe get a few more of these tier 1 side towers. The one at bottom has not been touched. This top one, though, Brood has chipped away at quite a bit and will be going down fairly soon. But right now, mid lane, AEON are feeling pretty confident. They're going for the big refresher on Tide, and we're going to see whether or not they can make use of that.
Oh my god, it is going to be a refresher on Tide, and they're very close to it. Oh, I don't know. With a refresher up on Tide, I want to say AEON can just all go mid. You can't really burst down the Tidehunter, generally speaking, because of that Kraken Shell, and he does have a single point in now. Queen of Pain, I thought she was going for Bloodstone. She's going for Lincolns.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to help that much. So if MSI recognize the threat that's going to be the refresher Tide. I mean, they can see it coming now. They just have to avoid those big 5-on-5 clashes. They just have to keep doing what they're doing with this split push. They have Brood at top. They've got Weaver at bottom. Just have 2 or 3 mid. Have the ES Windrunner mid just spamming down the creep wave and not actually engaging. And ultimately, Tide won't be able to force a team fight until he has something like a Blink Dagger.
Yeah, if they execute really well, you're right. I think Evo can sort of poke and prod and spread apart AEON long enough to not really suffer from that refresher, but any sort of mispositioning. I mean, AEON has enough to dive aggressively, catch up with heroes who are retreating, and then, you see this a lot. Teams try and defend their allies, try and keep their allies alive. Maybe Chen runs in to send an ally back to base, and next thing you know, the first Ravage hits, and then it's all downhill from there. So, it's just a very dangerous situation, but you're right, if MSI play it correctly, they can avoid those engagements because they have the split push capability, and we see them executing really well right now. Windrunner pushing him in, Weaver with 2 supports on the bottom lane. He is the most important hero to protect at this stage of the game, and the Broodmother played very passively top. Very close to that Orchid, which will help a lot against, well, frankly, I mean, the Tidehunter with that Ravage. If you just drop the Orchid on him, you don't even have to damage the hero. You can just ignore him, and the Kraken Shell's not going to remove it.
Yeah, it's almost better to ignore him once you silence him. You don't want to trigger it off. And there we go. Shackle shot on Ken. They need the Tide here, but it's Shadow Shaman who TPs in first. They take out Night Stalker. And here comes Vengeful Spirit. No Tidehunter anywhere to be seen. He comes in now, but they've already got the Night Stalker. They may get this T1 tower. It gets denied, but they're not going to worry too much about that. Either way, MSI will come out on top, even with that tower being denied.
Yeah, while this was all happening up on the top lane, Broodmother and the King really trading blows here. Very aggressive play by both players. And this Queen of Pain with Lincolns is not very afraid with Brood. Even if Brood gets up the Orchid, she can pop Spiderlings and then the Silence to follow. But the Spiderlings are a lot of her burst damage, and Queen of Pain should be able to just walk out and then blink away if she needs to. So King's sort of, doing the same thing that we're saying MSI should be doing, which is constantly pressuring this top lane. He's being pretty effective for now, at least in terms of applying pressure on the map. But what we haven't seen him do is get very involved in kills. 232 CS up on him. I want to say like over 100 of that are Spiderlings. But nonetheless, still a very impressive creep score. Whereas for MSI, it seems to be a little bit more evenly distributed. Shackle Shot is going to hit on Kane because that was targeted on a creep. The Lincolns will not block it, and down goes the Windrunner. Holy mother of Jesus. whatever you believe in, Vash is absolutely out of control. This Windrunner may single-handedly be carrying Evo or MSI to a victory. Of course, it's not like the game is over, but if he keeps this up, I just don't know what you could do against these Shackles. You need a blink on the side. Ken is actually going to eat a fissure here. He's trying to run away from Reaver. In fact, he will be TPing out. No Chen creeps available to disable him. The net was there, but just not in range in time, and out he goes.
That was close, though. That was very close. And if they got another pick off, Nightstalker's been picked off a few times out of position. He's currently 0-3-4. He has had very little impact on this game, and that's been one of the key points for MSI to give them this strong position that they're currently in. And Windrunner finishing off that 4-star as well as the mech now will have even more survivability. Great teamfight involvement, as well as some additional damage. And Brood going to get this tier 1 top tower. So MSI starting to get some tower flow going their way. And with that, all their support heroes will get some more items up. We'll see ES just 400 gold away from a Blink Dagger even with just a level 1 ulti. The positioning he's going to get can be absolutely crucial. And this is, I've got to say, looking worse and worse for AEON.
With that being said, they do have a few things going their way. The Tidehunter, the refresher is almost up, and any sort of mistakes will be very costly with that double Ravage. There's no BKB yet on MSI. You mentioned the Brood is squishy. The Weaver can actually be burst down if they're able to lock him down, and they have enough single target nukes that's a possibility. Also, the Blink Dagger and Shadow Shaman gives them more initiation, which, while they have strong disables, they don't have that instant disable. But with the Blink on the Shadow Shaman, now they do. As long as he's able to get that Hex off. Of course, Weaver will be relatively safe against that, but other heroes may not be. Ken looking for a kill here. Ken just has not been able to get anything going for his team. He's 0-3-4, and it all goes back to the play in the middle lane by the Windrunner, really negating Ken's early farm and those failed couple of ganks. It really shows you how fragile in Nightstalker's early game is. Sure, he might not die. He's a very tanky hero, but he's very contingent. His effectiveness is very contingent on that good start, and he didn't get it. He hasn't been effective since then. And Nightstalker is not a fast farmer. He can't clear waves quickly. So if he's not effective in the ganking stage, he's just never going to be big enough to be a major threat.
Yeah, and I mean, as it is, I've got to say, despite MSI getting winning most of these recent team fights and getting most of these kills, it's still very even with this Tide finishing refresh. And not to mention, Queen of Pain is ridiculously farmed. I mean, Lincoln Sphere, 1,300 gold on top of that, and we will see whether or not Weaver can try out farm Queen of Pain. The Serpent Wards will be dropped at mid lane. It looks like AEON going to just try and get some towers, force those team fights with the refresher. And right now, MSI not doing much counter pushing in the side lanes. They're going to have to fight this or just start giving up towers, which is not really what they want to do. But ultimately, they can't go into this Tide refresher Ravage.
They should be split pushing. I have no idea why Broodmother rotated that way, but without a BKB, Brood has no business being in a team fight here. Just will not be able to contribute anything. Look at all that anti-push. Oh, Echo Slave from Earthshaker. Oh my god, that was a big Echo Slave. Queen of Pain goes down as well. 2 massive kills, a burst down on a Queen of Pain with a linkage. That's not something you see very often. Looks like Ken is on the way out here. Just nice hex by Mr. Keo, but I'm not sure he'll be able to get away. Windrunner, Shackle Shot, not going to latch. That should be enough to hold him in place, though. I think they're going to be able to run down the Shadow Shaman. Power Shot piercing through. Down goes the Shadow Shaman. It's a rout at this point. The Tidehunter, no buyback because he just finished that refresher orb. Normally could punish these sorts of tower dives. That was a devastating team fight.
I was with you. Why was Brood mid? No BKB. They shouldn't be trying to team fight. ES says otherwise. Big blink ulti. It was set up by the Chen though. Those tornadoes with I think it was Fissure led it off as well. Fissure power shot. Tidehunter was half HP before the fight even began, and ES blink ulti cleaned him up. He couldn't get off a single Ravage. That was just perfect execution from MSI.
Yeah, really impressive. Nuts might go down here. Dust is popped defensively. I really doubt this Weaver will go down. As I say that, Chen sends it back to base. Ravage number 1. Magic Missile not able to get out. There's the second Ravage. 2 more kills. And the MSI answers back with an overextension of their own. Not to be outdone by AEON. So both teams engaged in a little bit of overly aggressive play here. And hey, it is late for them. They did have a long wait. And perhaps not as sharp as they were in match number 2. But all matches count the same regardless of how sharp or well rested you are. With that fight, AEON, they're down 2 Ravages, and they were great Ravages, don't get me wrong, but without the Ravages, they're not going to be pushing anytime soon. They will, however, be looking to secure a Roshan here. Broodmother going to send in some Spider Lanes, unlikely to be able to deny it. I expect these to be killed off in short order. Indeed they are. And Brood just going to be pressuring this bottom lane as best she can in the meantime. It's getting close to a BKB, and that would be a huge pickup, actually. Just simply because there's no way to burst her down. And
with the double Ravage, I mean, BKB is almost a must-buy for most of these heroes. I mean, This is one of those games where, I mean, the Chinese teams, every now and then, they'll just go for a BKB, even on a hero like Earthshaker. If they're up against a lineup which you need a BKB for, they don't mind getting it on those support heroes or secondary support heroes. So, ES, Windrunner, they could all just go for BKBs to prevent the Tide Ravage from doing anything. And that's really what AEON are going to be relying on all these team fights. The disables with the Tide Ravages, with a Queen of Pain nukes, they have got no physical damage whatsoever. So basically just massing BKBs, and MSI will be in complete cruise control for that 10 seconds during those team fights.
Yeah, and if you look at MSI, really great tracing heroes, especially with the way these shackle shots have been lining up today for Bash. He must have prayed to the Dota gods because, I mean, they've been miraculous at times. He's really helped the team in place here. No item progression beyond the 4 staff, and I don't think he's died, so, well, he did die the one time, but still 5-1 and 6. The creep score not very high, to be honest, for a Windrunner. It's not like a Light of Heaven Windrunner where we just see the Windrunner farming for most of the game, constantly pressuring the lane, looking to get those key items up for the team, and it's not because Vash is incapable of it, it's because the team needed his help, but as a result, we're not going to see a Hex in the next 5-10 minutes. There's a long way to go. Well, 10 minutes we might. It's actually going to be a pipe. Or at least a Hood of Defiance to start. But I like the pipe choice. Look how many dukes we have. And in fact, you mentioned BKBs is a must. Pipe is a must too. It is going to be a late pipe, but better late than never, I say. That being said, with this Aegis up on the Queen of Pain, she can afford to be very aggressive.
Yeah, I agree. I like the pipe pickup. I mean, Sheepstick would be alright here, but it's not like they're up against any heroes they need to focus down. It's just the AoE combo. It's not like, I mean, they've got the Silent Stick, so if they want to try disable the Tide and then just ignore him, they can just use that Silent Stick on the Brood for that. And ultimately, I feel that it is going to be a nice pickup, having the pipe for their team. With the Chen, that's going to give them some great survivability. Chen has not even gone for any of those items. He's gone for the Drum with the Urn of Shadows. Could even go for a Vlad if they want to stack and get that one of those last few auras that they're missing apart from the Assault Cuirass. But right now, Brood, BKB is finished. He's going to fly that out. And we will see King still farming away at bottom lane. King up to 3k gold. I would probably say he wants to go for a Sheepstick at this point.
Yeah, I think you're right with the Sheepstick for a couple of reasons. If you can hex up the Brood, she won't be able to pop that BKB. And they definitely have the burst damage. Brood is very squishy. The only way she'll be able to survive is by beat in a magic immune form, as well as doing that lifesteal in team fights. It's also going to help versus the Weaver. Admittedly, he has a Lincoln Sphere. They still have a lot of ways to remove that first. And without the Hex, there's just not enough lockdown here. I mean, we've talked about the Chen's ability to send heroes back. Hexing up the Chen before he can pop his ult in the mecha, also huge. We've seen just how powerful that is. Sorry, he doesn't have the mecha, but just for the ult alone, being able to hex up that Chen, very helpful. As well as the ES with his Fissure and the Blink Dagger. Very devastating counter initiation. It's still looking reasonably good for MSI if they can just hold on for, let's say, the next 5-10 minutes or so. The Weaver has a Relic up, as well as a decent amount of gold in the bank, working towards that Radiance. Smoke Gank from AEON incoming. Will be spotted by the Sentry Ward. Great map sense for the Earthshaker. He is eyeing that ward, and indeed it will be counter-warded. Which means that if MSI didn't notice, they certainly would now, since the ward is gone. But they did, so AEON going to be forced to just farm the enemy jungle. And the failed Smoke Gank gives the Weaver that little extra of time to farm. Love the position here from the Windrunner up on the opposing high ground. No way she'll get spotted out. As I say that, it might be Broodmother who's in a dangerous position here. Actually, the Windrunner might be. Both of them might get picked off here. Blink in, as well as the Ward Trap. Ravage number 1, Ravage number 2 up. It only hits one here. Great 4-staff away. They do pick off the Brood, but not really the best use of a double Ravage. Still, if they get the Windrunner, it will be worth it. Windrunner in a lot of trouble. No buyback on the Brood. The Windrunner goes down as well. No buyback on her, and they may have just cost themselves a tier 2, if not a Rax here. Earthshaker gets silenced, and this is what I was talking about, trying to defend your teammates, slowly getting picked off one at a time. You really can't run from AEON's lineup, especially not these squishier support heroes. Weaver is all that's left, and at this moment he should really just be sprinting top to try and farm, try and push out that lane, because there's nothing he can do to defend the base at this moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was just a bit of overextension there by MSI. As soon as one hero gets picked off, they go charging in, spam those heals when ultimately there was just nothing they could do to keep him alive, and it was the Windrunner who did go down, as well as the Broodmother who was the first to get picked off and just getting caught up. I mean, they even spotted them in that smoke, so they needed to back off, and at this point, they may even lose this Rax. They're about to respawn, but it may be a bit too late. They're going to definitely lose this tier 3 tower. AEON may want to play it safe. They've already used both their Ravages, and we'll see if they do commit to this Rax. It looks like they want to.
ES does not have the ult. Still, he's got a nice fissure. Magic Missile to start. Nuts is really diving out of position here. I think Nuts is going to go down. That's an okay trade if you don't lose anyone else. Wow, what a swap out. I think he's still going to die. Dust is popped. Windrunner Shackle not going to latch. The Kane is able to blink away. I think that's just going to be just a Venge in exchange for a tier 3 tower and a lot of damage on the Rex. Sitting at about a quarter HP. Also want to point out here, nice hill ward placed during this engagement. That means for the next 6 minutes, AEON is going to have good vision of the enemy base. If they go for another push, they may be able to get similar pickoffs, especially with a Vengeful Spirit. Definitely a hero who can help you breach the high ground, where it normally is very difficult against an Earthshaker and a Windrunner. That may be the opening that AEON needs to actually break racks. But for now, MSI does hold, and they have to be happy, giving up a couple of kills but not actually losing racks. Weaver very close to the Radiance. If he can farm up a BKB on top of this Radiance, I think he'll be able to outcarry anything AEON has to throw his way. But until he does, he will be very squishy, very easily picked off. The King, you mentioned the Sheepstick, he's almost got it. I don't really see any other big item pickups. Well, Ken has a BKB. Tied with the
Tide may get a Bling. He's got 1800. Oh, no, he has got a Blink. What am I talking about? He's got a Blink. And also, what Tide has done, which I really like, he's only got level 2 Ravage. If he gets level 3, it'll cost too much mana. He won't be able to do the combo with the Blink Refresher and double ulti. So he's only sitting on level 2 ulti, which is something most Tides would probably not do once you get to level 16. But this level 2 ulti is going to allow him to have the mana to make sure he can use that Refresher combo. Yeah,
this is not only is he skipping that level 3 ulti, he also only took 1 point Kraken Shell because all he really cares about is the damage threshold. He's not concerned with the reduction of auto attacks because at this stage of the game, the only way Tide's going to die is to those burst nukes, which Kraken Shell won't help with, aside from the passive that removes all debuffs, as well as just the right clicks of the Weaver and the Brood. And of course, those are very high damage numbers, so a little bit of damage block is not a significant reduction. Those stats are going to be more helpful, and hey, he needs every bit of mana he can get, as you mentioned. And all grouped up mid, they really want to make it go. Blinking for the King, he's got a new Hex, and he's ready to use it. But I think Chen will be able to escape here with the Hex down. That's going to delay this push, or at least give them one less way to initiate. That being said, they still have the swap up, and they could look to go here. Tied with 1 Ravage, actually double Ravage, and the Refresher available. Position has to be perfect from MSI. And frankly, I feel like they're too grouped up right now. They really need to stay split up constantly. I would leave Broodmother in the front, let her tank, because if she dies, it's not as big of a deal as if the Weaver goes down. At least I would say that's the case. The wards are dropped, the tower being sieged, no glyph, they're gonna have to force a fight. Nightstar rewarding everyone back. This is a very dangerous time. Chen runs in pretty deep. Shackle Shot actually only hitting 2 creep. BKB comes out on Ken. Tide blinks in, is Fissure, drops the Ravage, hitting 2 heroes, actually hitting 3 heroes. Double Ravage coming out, Hex, and it looks like we might see multiple heroes go down. Chen heal coming through, Mechanism popped, it's 2 heroes dead in exchange for a double Ravage. BKB on Broodmother, going the other way. I think Nuts will die. Nuts is not a big loss. If they get out with Rax and just Nuts dead, they will be very happy. At the same time, MSI can come back from losing a melee Rex. They're not out of this yet. But that was, I think AEON will be reasonably pleased with that trade nonetheless.
Yeah, that was the result they needed. At this point in the game, they needed a Rax. They had this double Ravage combo. They haven't got heroes who are going to scale that well going to the late game, apart from the Queen of Pain, who is getting very farmed. But Night Stalker, not all that farm, just building towards an Aghanim Scepter. And this Tide double Ravage combo, it's really powerful at the moment. But once there's a couple more BKBs, I'd probably expect even Weaver to get a BKB at this point in the game. It's going to get harder and harder for AEON to win these team fights. But right now, all they have to do is drop those Serpent Wards and try and get a tier 3 tower every now and then. Go for another lane soon, go for a Rax, and just slowly chip away this MSI base. MSI who won't be able to push or win this game for a while now. So AEON just making use of what little time they have left. As I mean, they're basically their lineup. It has an expiration date at the moment, it feels.
Yeah, especially the way they've built. Now, I saw yesterday a Queen of Pain who had pretty much max inventory with like I think it was a Daedalus and an MKB. A lot of damage items. Queen of Pain can carry quite hard if you go that route, but this is not a DPS Queen of Pain. This is very much a ganking support, sort of mid-game style Queen of Pain. Items really determine how well your Queen of Pain scales. Once you've invested this much towards those kind of support ganker items, you really can't turn it around unless you get a crazy number of kills, in which case the game is over anyway. And the Night Stalker, sure, he can actually right-click and carry extremely hard, but not with this kind of farm. He's going for an Aghanims. I actually like this choice a lot because it allows you to not only map control effectively, especially if they get up a gem. I believe they do have one on the Tidehunter. Yes, they do. But it also gives you that another way to sort of breach the high ground. Queen of Pain looking for a solo kill here, but there's no way she's bringing down the Windrunner. I don't think Chen should be going in, but Queen of Pain is going to back out, not knowing where the rest of the team is.
Yeah, they do need to back off, especially with AEON all missing. Although right now, AEON just being efficient with their time. I mean, they've got a couple at top. They're farming out their neutrals. We'll see Tide head down towards that bottom lane. It looks like he may want to pick something up, possibly a Mystic Staff here to start building a Shiver's Guard. And it will be sitting on 2.8. He gets the Mystic Staff, either Sheepstick or Shiver's Guard, but I have a feeling the Shiver's Guard is going to be a slightly better choice, especially against the Brood and the Weaver, who do quite a bit of physical damage.
Yeah, and so far this Tide has been getting off double Ravages on at least 3 heroes, and you know, you talked about, well, as we talk about that Shackle Shot on Ken is just dead. Echo Slam even used, I really don't think they needed that. And with all 4 heroes on MSI all the way in the top lane, that means a free Aegis going the way of AEON. Great map sense by AEON, immediately rotate into that pit. A lot of other teams would maybe hesitate and then go in, but AEON knows exactly what they need to be doing in this situation. Yeah, I mean, with that Echo Slam down, that is a decent chunk of MSI's team fight. And I want to say the Shivas is the better choice here, as long as they can end the game, or at least get another set of racks in the next 5 to 10 minutes, because if you can hit the 3 supports with that double Ravage plus a double Shivas, that alone is going to bring them all really low. As I say that, there's a pipe up on the Windrunner now. So if you don't lock her down, that can turn the tides. And of course the Chen. Still, the more AoE burst, the better. And a Sheep is nice. I think I like this pick because they don't want to go late anyway. Even if you get a Hex on the tide, it's still very risky to continue this game much longer. The Weaver is starting to get out of control. The Brood with 2300 gold. I wonder what she'll go for here. Some raw right click wouldn't be bad. I wouldn't even mind seeing a Hex of her own, or some support items like a Yule's. I think just any kind of items to help hold heroes up, prevent the Skirt or the Dire from getting off their Wombo combo could make all the difference. Of course, it would be more likely to see a Yasha, something like that, or possibly an MKB. That's generally the way Broodmothers go, but in this case, I would not mind some support items, anything to tide them over. And I guess that's a really bad unintentional pun.
Oh, it's alright. It's that time of the night when we're getting sleepy and we're making bad puns, but it is... I have to agree. I mean, they don't want this game to go too much longer, and Tide, I mean, he can get that Shiver's Guard in about 500 gold if he really wants to. But right now, I mean, AEON, they're getting some farm even on their support heroes. Nuts the VS will have a 4-staff soon. Queen of Pain has Sheepstick and has 4k gold. I imagine the next item will be a DPS one. MKB, Daedalus, Desolator, something to give them some more right-click damage, because the longer this goes, the worse off they're going to be unless Queen of Pain can help them get up some DPS power. And we will see Radiant team, they're sitting back. They haven't got much. I mean, the winner are going pure utility, pure support style, and has gone for the Mech the Pipe 4-staff. Chen sitting on a 4-staff as well, going to help his team out with some mobility issues as well, as good for saving allies. And all in all, I mean, this game is getting to that sort of a stalemate point where both teams want to farm. MSI know if they just want to get up that next big item, get up some BKBs. Weaver's already got his Mithril Hammer, so just needs to get the Ogre Club and BKB recipe. But at this point, they have no intentions of team fighting unless they absolutely have to.
Well, and that team fight may get forced soon. At the very least, AEON is going to take a tier 2. I doubt we'll see MSI defend this. I think they're much better off just pushing in mid and bottom. Try and force AEON back, and if you can't, at least get a little bit of extra farm. Every little bit helps. It's so dangerous to try and defend a tier 2, especially against all the initiation of AEON, because this area right here on top of the hill, if they jump you, they can easily get the high ground, and with that high ground, it's just so easy to bully heroes down. Especially with Nightstalker having the Aghanims up. I mean, you don't want to be fighting here. You have to fight from the comfort and defense and safety of your own base. They're actually going to give up the tier 2 and back the TPs come. No big item pickups before this fight, so what you see is what you get. Looks like we're no initiation yet, but the Shadow Shaman wards are dropped. They can't just sit here forever. Brood is going to start it off, pops the BKB, but Shadow Shaman's got a BKB of his own. So a Brood BKB for a Shadow Shaman. The wards are going to be cleaned up, so there goes their best pushing tool. Bot lane is pushing in. The tier 2 is going to drop there soon, but it's all about this top tier 3 tower. Tornado doing what it can. And actually the Lincoln Sphere gets dropped. Shackle Shot not going to latch. If the Shackle Shot hits, I don't think we're going to see ES jump in, but it's just one more way to stall this push while the other lanes push back out. The push continuing. Very patient play here by AEON. And actually, initiation onto the Chen. This is the target of choice. No Chen ultimate in this fight. Does he have buyback? No buyback from the Chen. And it looks like Broodmother's going to get locked down without that BKB. Down she goes. And it's looking really bad here for MSI. A buyback on the Brood, but this is a Brood with no BKB. And without that BKB, not very useful. Ravage completely wasted by the Tide, though.
Ravage number 1. He's got a second one, but he doesn't necessarily want to just waste it. And there we go. There's the next Ravage, and they get the kill on the Weaver. King in a lot of trouble. Takes a lot of damage. He's got the Aegis, though, if he needs it. Nightstalk on the other hand could be in trouble. Power Shot going to miss. In goes the spawn Spinelings, and Ken may just survive this one. It looks like there's not enough damage to take him down, as Queen of Pain King preserving the Aegis as well. But all in all, AEON, they don't get the tower, they don't get a Rax, but they do get a couple of kills going their way and just put MSI under more trouble, as they even force a buyback on the Brood as well. Going to chew through a lot of his gold.
Yeah, well, the Shivas is up, so that puts to bed any questions about what he was going for next. The Aegis also still up on the Queen of Pain, 6,700 gold in the bank. Is this the time to go for a Divine Rapier? I throw it out there. She's got the Aegis, she's got the Lincoln Spear. Maybe that raw, just maximum damage is what you need, but no, the King thinks otherwise. Going for that Boots of Travel. More mobility, more anti-push, can help keep the lanes pushed out and then immediately TP in to join his team. A smart choice, makes him a little bit more like a Nature's Prophet.
And he's got a Demon Edge as well, so he's going to be going for the MKB probably. Could be a Daedalus, which would be similar sort of DPS item. I think MKB is slightly better, especially against Windrunner and even the Brood, so you're not actually missing right-click attacks. He probably will sell those Arcane Boots, because I mean, they're ultimately useless. He's got plenty of mana regen with the Lincolns as well as the Sheepstick, and this Queen of Pain is getting very, very farmed, and just, I don't know if even Brood and Weaver, they, in theory, I mean, they are the better late game carry heroes, but Queen of Pain with her mobility and with this big right-click damage could be better in the late game than even heroes like Brood, who is currently has 3.6k gold, but I mean, just gets kited around too much by this dire team.
Another issue for MSI here is Earthshaker is a really great counter initiator. He's not the best person to jump in first. We saw in the last fight, I don't know if you caught it, but he blinked on top of the Tide right as that second Ravage went off. He's silenced up immediately by the Night Stalker, and that's why Weaver died. If Earthshaker had gotten off any of his nukes there, they would have stunned up the Tide. Weaver could have popped time-lapse, and it would have been an absolute turnaround for MSI. So with Earthshaker not being the strongest initiator at this stage of the game, you look at the Dire squad, Queen of Pain does not have to go in first, and if she does, she's still got an Aegis. You've also got the Venge to swap her out, and most importantly, the Tide, the Shadow Shaman with the BKB and the Blink. They've got double Blink initiation, very reliable initiations, and tanky heroes to stay on the front lines between the Tide and the Night Stalker. I feel like there's nobody on the AEON or on the MSI side who can fill that role of the hero that just charges in, drives everyone back, and secures good positioning for the team. Broodmother in theory could, but you know, a BKB Yasha Orchid at 44 minutes in, really not the best farm for a Broodmother to have.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and it's just, even with the BKB, it's still very squishy, just so right-click damage. The Shiva's slow does go through as well, as we will see AEON trying again for this top lane. MSI just going to go charging in. They want this Tide. They pop the Silence one with some BKBs. He can pop a Ravage. It's knocking everyone. Brood going to keep on chasing. It looks like Tide may be kept alive, and he is not going to go down. That's a big save. And now Shadow Shaman popping a BKB. That right-click damage from Weaver doing a massive amount. The second Ravage is there. MSI in trouble. Two AEON heroes surviving on rare HP, both Shadow Shaman and Tide. Somehow AEON not losing anyone there.
They don't lose the Weaver though, and he's so close to cleaning up everyone on MSI side. As I say that, actually he is going to get bursted down. Power shot from the low ground. It's just not enough. Great kiting there, and the King a triple kill. That's what he was farming for all game, was that one big flash. But really, I mean, this Tide Hunter is... they just can't initiate on him. I don't even know why they're trying to spend any dukes on him, because all they're doing after they silence... Oh, initiation on to Vash here. If Vash goes down, he has the buyback. No buyback on Brood, no buyback on Weaver. That's going to mean a second set of racks, and possibly a third. Yeah. The range rack's likely to go down as well. Windrunner buys back. Oh, the King, he's got the Aegis here. He's actually going to... Kind of a sloppy play there, blowing the Aegis. Not the biggest deal in the world.
No, I agree. And Shackle Shot not going to land. It does block with the Lincolns, and now Windrunner, Vash in trouble. He's played so well all game. He will get caught out by this tower. ES blinking in, trying to keep him alive. The pipe is going to be popped. Although Queen of Pain, the right-click damage too much. More buybacks coming. Although it is going to be a godlike streak for the Night Stalker. Chen the only one alive, and this looks like it's GG. MSI put up a great fight here, but one or two sort of sloppy positionings, and the Tide Ravage just carried AEON through the mid-game stage here, really.
Yeah, it's very similar to the way the last game went when they had the Tide, where he got fast Arcane Boots. I think that was the game they lost, but he really kept them in it for most of the way. And perhaps if you play AEON again, at least if you're MSI, Tide is the hero you want to be banning out. I really have to question the Broodmother's play in this game. So many Spiderlings fed to Queen of Pain, who has 400 CS. That is some anti-mage with Battle Fury level farm. And with a fast Battle Fury at that. I mean, I don't want to point the finger because MSI overall played well. You have to give AEON credit, but a Queen of Pain with this much gold, I mean, that's not something you see often, even when she's farming all game. 557 gold per minute. Dramatically outpacing the Weaver and the Broodmother.
Yeah, it really is a thing. I'd say, I mean, I think Queen of Pain did get ridiculously farmed and got fed a bit too much this game, but ultimately that wasn't the main problem for MSI. I think it was more just their fight selection and the way they positioned themselves. I mean, the bigger problem was the Tidehunter. Queen of Pain being this farmed, I mean, sure, it's great. King has managed to clean up in a few of these fights, but I think it was just a few bad fights here or there, not getting up those BKBs. Weaver really needed a BKB to be able to fight inside, to be able to actually just go into those big team fights and not worry about the Ravages and then getting focused down by chain disables coming out from the VS, the Shadow Shaman, the Night Stalker. As MSI are going to go for one last hurrah by the looks of things. They are going to smoke up as 5, and they're going to be running right into the heart of the Lion's Den. Although right now it's just Tide and Night Stalker who they're going to be running into.
I believe they were spotted by that hill ward. Perhaps not. As Tide is actually... Will he be able to blink out? No, he's not going to be able to. Or he didn't want to. BKB popped on Ken. They're going here on Chemo. Chemo, though, been the target every single fight, and he goes down again. He talked about positioning. Not the best there. Tide is silenced up. They're not focusing him. Well, great ward track. Ravage number 1. Shiva's Ravage number 2. And down goes pretty much everyone. 4 heroes dead. That's gotta be game. And just a little bit too strong here for the inexperienced MSI team, but still, they gave it a hell of a shot. Despite the delays, you gotta give them a lot of credit, and they are not a team to be underestimated. I could easily see them winning a game or two, maybe going deep into the losers bracket. They've shown a lot of potential. Hopefully they'll have a chance to get some rest and come back fresh tomorrow. I believe they'll be playing, or if it's not tomorrow, then the next day. In which case they'll be getting a little bit of practice time in as well. And it seems like they can use
I mean, and this match in itself was some great practice for them. This was their first sort of proper serious match. It was best of 3, and I mean, they have a legitimate chance in this loser bracket. This is one of the favorites of this qualifier, AEON, and they have gone pretty much on equal footing for them in Game 3. Game number 2 they won. Game number 1 was a bit one-sided, but this game I do feel it just came down to inexperience and lack of practice in Dota 2 for MSI, as a bit more training and a bit more, I don't know, just a bit better sort of understanding of the differences between Dota 1 and Dota 2 could have gone a long way here.
It's a tough loss to swallow, but they seem to be taking it very well, and you gotta give them a lot of respect for the good manners and the playful attitude. That's what you like to see, and that's the best way to bounce back from losses. Not to let it bother you too much.
Yeah, exactly. They seem pretty happy despite the result and despite all the wait. As we will have them. They'll be back tomorrow, though. They'll be playing in the loser bracket. I believe they'll be going up against the loser of Duskbin and World Elite, which is your last best of 3 in the round 1, which is, I think, currently underway. Game number 1. We'll be hopping into game number 2 for that. But that was, I mean, AEON, a bit of a shaky start. I've got to say they weren't as convincing as I expected them to be, apart from that game number 1.
Yeah, I really expected them to be dominant, and actually... Oh, I was reading Skype chat there. Yeah, guys, that is going to do it for this best out of 3. AEON ends up taking it, and like God said, it was a very shaky start, but hey, in the end, they do. A win is a win, and they advance in the winner's bracket.